So the rest, I believe, the rest of what I need to say about Sarah Walls is I don't think that Sarah Walls is necessarily a bad person. In fact, I know that she's not a bad person, but I do think that she is somebody. I know she's not a bad person, but at this point, I know that she is somebody who needs a lot of help. And I know that because I've never spoken to Sarah for more than 2 or 3 minutes in person. The trauma that I was going through on Snapchat was not a real assessment of who I am in any way. I was not in any way giving her information about me in a real way, other than the circumstance in which I unfortunately divulged information about the career path that I was currently considering by way of the educational path that I was on. But that wasn't intentional. That was just simply a lapse in judgment in how to handle the circumstance that I should have never put myself in anyways, by way of crossing social boundaries. I shouldn't have done it. I was just traumatized and trying to save my marriage. Sarah Walls is somebody that I don't really know what to think about her. I don't think that she's a bad person, but I do at this point have a very strong opinion that she needs a lot of therapy work. And that in addition to that, she really needs to move on with her life. Because having a relationship with me was never in the cards for her. And I'm not trying to be, I'm simply just stating fact. She knows this at this point. There's no way she doesn't. But back to what I was saying about her putting a lot of stress and strain on my ex-wife, I believe, at work. While she also abused me while she was on the clock at Jasper, working on the same shift as my ex-wife, as her boss, and that abuse took place via text message that was incredibly dishonest in terms of the source of who actually was sending that to me. That text message actually really, really was harmful for me. It was part of what added up to a lot of my paranoia and PTSD that had me flee my house after a certain point when I was just trying to determine what was happening in my life, in my marriage, that my ex-wife was not speaking to me about. It was, and that day that happened where I fled to, and I was almost crossing state lines into California to go stay with my friend John because of how much I felt unsafe. That day was incredibly difficult for me, and it was incredibly difficult for my ex-wife. It was not okay. And had that text message not been sent to me, I'm almost certain that I never would have, my PTSD and paranoia never would have gotten as bad as it did. In fact, I'm virtually certain that if nothing else, my PTSD and paranoia at the time, I think that was actually something that potentially Sarah, I think potentially Sarah did that intentionally. And the reason why I think that is because I think that Sarah was somebody who saw and knew about what I was going through and actually wanted to harm me psychologically to the point where then she could pretend to be my therapeutic savior in person. I think that was part of why she did what she did, because I think that Heather was already at her wit's end, and I don't mean because she was giving up on me or because she wanted to give up on me, but I think that Heather didn't really know what to do with all of the psychological stuff that I was going through that I actually was recovering from on my own. It was really tough for us. We were trying really hard. And I actually think that Sarah did that intentionally because she probably spoke to Heather about how much we were going through, and she probably spoke to Heather about how much we were going through and determined that Heather was really struggling to know what to do aside from just trying to be supportive. And I think that Sarah wanted things to get worse. And I think that Sarah wanted things to get worse because she wanted Heather to pass me off to her. Because she thought that she could be my therapeutic savior after abusing me. Virtually certain that that is the case. I don't think that Sarah is a bad person for all of that. However, I don't trust her and never will. And when I went to apologize to her about the crossing social boundaries thing via Snapchat, that was the last time and is the last time I will ever speak to her, that I will ever see her of my own intention, of my own desire. And it was largely because, A, I never intended anything with Sarah. I was just trying to be a good husband who was trying to keep things from falling apart, and I was also trying to look out for a family that that would have been sad to see fall apart in the worst way. In addition to that, when I went to apologize to Sarah, I left her a book. One of my books, just as a friendly gesture. And that book is called You're the Placebo. And it's a very good book. And the reason why I was very, very psychologically healthy when I left her during that time frame. I really was. I was doing well, but I was emotionally sad. It was a divorce that I didn't want to go through. It sucked. My paranoia, PTSD it was good though. At the time it was something that oscillated, but it was good and it was good because I had pulled myself together on my own. But so in addition to all of that, I left her that book because I actually identified that if she was still dealing with the issues of if she was still dealing with the issues of whatever it was that was going on in her marriage that had her considering cheating, that I was told about way back when, that originally made me not trust her around my wife when my wife and I were going through stuff. I wanted her to have a book. I wanted to give her a book as a purely friendly gesture and a goodbye. I hope that this helps complete the process of you determining that what's going on for you is actually something that's going on purely in your own head, and if you spend the time individually addressing these things, then you more than likely will never find yourself in a place where you'll consider socially or romantically destructive actions like the ones that you were considering. That's why I left her that book. That's about what I have to say about it. I think. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. The last thing, yeah. I just want to reiterate. I don't think that Sarah Walls is a bad person. But I do think that Sarah Walls is somebody that needs a lot of therapy work. I think that she's somebody that needs a lot of therapy work. And I think that in relation to the problems that she has with her own way of living individually that has her so outcome dependent on me, I also think that Sarah Walls is somebody that needs therapy work around some of the stuff that she's probably been through in the relationships that she's had in her life. And that's the last thing that I will ever say about the subject matter in this format. I will not ever speak to her. I will not ever see her of my own accord in any way, period, whatsoever. It's never, ever, ever happening. In addition to that, if I am incorrect about her interest in hockey as a genuine thing, my apologies, but it does kind of fit the massive investment that she seems to have in me and my life, that I'm not okay with. I do feel stalked. I do feel uncomfortable every time anything relating to her shows up. She's somebody who I will always regard as somebody who deliberately abused me. And the more time I've spent thinking about it, it's not just that she deliberately abused me, it's that she deliberately abused me in a way where she had special knowledge of me about what I was going through psychologically and emotionally, that I also believe she was using to try to leverage some sort of long-term relationship with me, as my ex-wife and I were really struggling to pull our relationship together. That's the type of that's what I live with. Or, well, that's where it will always be for me. No matter what her feelings are for me, aside from all of that, no matter how she actually feels about me, it doesn't matter to me in any context of changing what my boundaries will always be with her, period, in every regard. I wish her family safety, wellness, happiness. It will never be around me. And that is permanent. In addition to that, when Dave Withers actually spoke to me after the divorce and asked me if any of Heather's close friends knew about Mike, I suspected that he was trying to pass me off to Sarah, or at least he was trying to get me to talk to Sarah, but I had no reason to at that point, because I already had everything that I needed with Mike. I had him. And Dave Withers also had him and had access to him because of the very sad and authentic circumstance that my marriage ended in, at least in the context of what I was trying to provide for Heather, my ex-wife, who I wanted to help in regards to potentially freeing herself from a marriage that went through a lot of tragedy because of Mike, that seemed to lead her down a path of, at least at the time, it seemed like it was leading her down a path of her questioning what exactly she wanted in her life and her future, and as to whether or not it was me. Because no matter what the answer was, I was going to make sure that she safely landed, that she was safely guided to whatever it was that she was supposed to go, even though I was trying really hard to fix things between us for a long time, and I didn't want to lose her. But that's what it all was for me. I was never going to just up and leave without ensuring that my ex-wife had a safe way of getting on into the next phase of her life, whatever that was supposed to be. And so that's what I have to say about all of this. I'm going to stop this recording. I believe that's all I have to say about this. I'm almost certain that that's all I have to say about this regarding Sarah Walls, or whatever her maiden name actually is. I'm not sure if she's changed her name by now, but I'm virtually certain that she is divorced. So she may have by now. I don't know.